2017-2018 public school year just getting started, and already we're seeing public schools versus legislature. Dave Morris here alongside Ben Felder with the Oklahoman. Public schools considering legal action against the legislation for underfunding. We heard a little bit of that today. What did we hear?
Yeah, so leadership of Oklahoma City Public Schools, the state's largest district here in Oklahoma City, they are threatening to take legal action against the state legislature for essentially underfunding public education. We've talked and reported quite a bit over the last several years of the decline in education funding that we've seen across the state. Oklahoma City, that includes them as well. And today we heard Superintendent Aurora Laura say that when the school board meets on Monday, they're going to discuss and vote on whether to move forward with possible legal action.
What do we know about that they might be talking about on Monday?
Well, they said that if they decide to go forward, then they'll start interviewing with law firms. I imagine they probably have already kind of maybe circled a few or are in talks with some attorneys. They have their own attorney as well, obviously. The specifics in they have issued a resolution today. One bullet point on it specifically said that the legislature has not fulfilled its duty to fund textbooks. That's been one of the things that's been cut with a drop in state revenue and in state funding. Other than that, they've said that they haven't met their moral requirement to fund public education, which just kind of raises the debate of, what is the state on the hook for when it comes to funding public education, and what is adequate? What is an adequate level of public education funding?
And the legislature, as you might guess, has responded.
Yeah, and they didn't respond in too kind to the threat of being possibly sued. House Speaker Charles McCall, who's kind of right in the throes of getting ready for a potential likely special session as the Supreme Court struck down the cigarette fee that they said is a tax. We've reported on that quite a bit. So while he's getting ready to try to fill that massive budget hole, his response to the school district's threat was basically to say, you're blaming us for, quote, your own poor leadership. Actually pointed out the fact that the school district had put a modest pay raise for its teachers this year and said, hey, if you don't have the money, I'd sure like to know how you found the money for the teacher pay raise. It was a pretty interesting statement, I felt like, from the speaker, fairly lengthy in the sense that it was a couple of graphs, and the first half read kind of like a standard response, and the second half kind of was, this is what I really feel, and how he seems to really feel is, I don't really appreciate you casting stones our way.
Have we seen anything like this before, perhaps not in Oklahoma, but other states?
Yeah, we have seen some lawsuits like this before. Kansas, most notably, recently had its own that the case actually won. The state Supreme Court in Kansas said that the state of Kansas did have to change the way that it was funding the schools, and last I checked, they were kind of in the process of doing that. The governor and the legislature up there has. But it's really unknown. I mean, like I said, the Supreme Court, not to say that this is going to end up in front of the state Supreme Court, but the state Supreme Court recently debated an issue of whether or not putting a $1.50 per pack of cigarette fee is actually a tax. And that seemed like, I don't want to say cut and dry, these matters never are. We just got done debating that. This debate's a little different. Like I said, what does it mean to adequately fund schools? What level of funding should they have? The resolution also accuses the legislative leadership of not listening to members of both parties, but can you really, take legal action to say that that you're in the wrong for not listening to your members? I don't know. It'll be interesting. It definitely does just continue this larger debate and conversation we've been having, especially over the last few years, about school funding, which according to various metrics has been cut since 2008 more than any other state in the nation here in Oklahoma.
Interesting stuff. Good context analysis there from Ben Felder. More coverage from Tim Willard can be found in the Oklahoman and online at newsok.com, including of Monday's upcoming school board session. Also, you can find the press conference that Aurora Laura held earlier today in its entirety online at newsok.com as well. Ben, thanks for your time.
Yeah, you bet.